Hello. My name is Tessa, and I'm making these videos for this channel called Recovery Without Limits because I want to kind of like tell my story of eating disorder recovery, and if possible, I would love to help in the way that when I was struggling with eating disorder recovery, other people were able to help me when I was watching their videos and their recovery channels and things like that. Like I said, I'm Tessa. I'm 20 years old. I am a junior in college. As you can see, I'm in a dorm room right now. To give a little bit of a backstory, my issues with an eating disorder began when I was doing ballet really, really intensely. So I started doing ballet with a company, Boston Ballet, when I was 6. It really quickly became very all-consuming, and it was really clear that it was something that I really loved doing. And to me, it became what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I wanted to do it professionally. It also became very intense, and when I was 16, I moved to Florida on my own to do this traineeship thing there in Tampa. And at that point, I was dancing around 7 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I had been doing online school at that point for 2 years. I really do think ballet is kind of the thing that triggered it for me. And you are in a studio so many hours of the day, and you're just in front of like a full wall of full-length floor-to-ceiling mirrors, and you're in like a leotard and tights, and it's so easy to get so caught up in it's so easy to get caught up in, you become so aware of every single little thing. You can't help but just get to this point where you're just constantly criticizing yourself, and you are never really okay with what you look like. And I think on top of that, especially if you are trying to take it to this level of doing it professionally, it's such a competitive world, and there's such a small chance that ends up happening, that I think there's kind of this sense of a loss of control where you feel like the one thing that you can kind of be in control of and be in control of how people perceive you is the way that you look. And to a degree, it is true. And then obviously I was spending a lot of time on my own, so I could really, no one was I was the one who was going to be on top of that kind of thing. And especially during summer programs, when I would go away for 5 weeks on my own, I was the one who was in control of what I was eating, how much, when. I just definitely abused that. It just was kind of this perfect storm of being around people who encouraged it, having eating disorders almost be a norm, having like not eating properly be what was normal. And on top of that, just being in an environment where everyone is so competitive, you are constantly working for the best. And I think that's kind of where it all kind of started from. And then I stopped doing ballet. It had gotten so extreme, and it had gotten to this point where even in between like different same-day rehearsals, like let's say in the 7-hour day, like between same-day classes and rehearsals and that kind of thing, I very much thought that I could see differences in what I looked like between the same day. And that's just kind of like the degree to which I was really losing touch with like what was real and what was not. So I ended up stopping, and I came back, and it was really the right decision. But I think I thought all of these things with food and eating and how I perceived myself would go away, because I didn't have the same reasons for, I didn't feel like I had a need to continue with any kind of eating disorder activities, but it didn't go away, and it got a lot worse because, you know, I'm not dancing as much, I'm not working out as much. I had been starving myself for such a long time that everything kind of, I ended up gaining back a lot of weight that I had lost doing ballet, and just kind of becoming a normal high schooler. I think I struggled with the idea that in ballet, you know, the case could be made that I looked really thin. So I felt like me kind of having this eating disorder was justified. And then when I quit, I did not look the same. I mean, I looked the same, but I didn't look like I had an eating disorder by any means. And in my head, I felt like it was just worse than ever. And I just hated everything about what I looked like. And I just did not know how to cope with that. And I think I just struggled with the idea that no one would know, based on what I looked like, that the way I was thinking in ballet had continued, first of all, and if anything had gotten so much worse. And then I went to college. I felt like I was really, really struggling in my head, and no one could tell. And the only way that I could get other people to see that there was really, truly something going on was to kind of like try and get back to this point with ballet. And everything just kind of like spiraled and completely unraveled. I wanted people to kind of like look at me and think I had an eating disorder. That is what I wanted, because I wanted it to in some way reflect, as crazy as that is, I wanted it in some way to reflect, you know, a fraction of how frequently I thought about it. And I felt like after all of those years after ballet, when I stopped, kind of like proving that the struggles I had in ballet never went away. And they really hadn't. And I wanted to prove that to other people. And this was the way that I was going to do it. And I just reached a point, like I said, I think it was March, maybe a little earlier, where I realized I was just ruining my life with this. And I really was. It was just taking over everything. And I just I felt like I was just losing who I was as a person. I felt like I was losing my personality. All of my interests were gone. I didn't have energy to do anything. I couldn't go up a flight of stairs. I couldn't stand up without feeling like I was going to pass out. On top of that, I felt like I was going completely crazy because I was not thinking about anything else. I just was so broken down by it that I just kind of felt like I will take anything that can try and fix this thing that had really been going on from when I was 11 to, I mean, at that point I was like 19. So it, you know, around 8 years. So when I was recovering, I would absolutely have days where I did not want to eat anything because the thought of eating made me feel sick. And I was so tired of working on recovery, and I felt like, what is the point? I just need to go back. I've gone this many years dealing with it. I can keep working on it. At least I felt better in this body, blah, 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 blah. And on days like that, one of the only things that could kind of like keep me sane was watching these recovery channels on YouTube. I really felt like in these people, I had someone who I could relate to what was going on. And I did not feel as alone, and I didn't feel as just stuck in my thoughts. I could see, you know, I wasn't crazy. Like, there were reasons I was thinking like this, and it is just part of the recovery process. And yeah, I think just realizing all of these things that were kind of going on and that happened during recovery, they feel so isolating, and you feel like you're the only one who's experiencing it. And I know for me, feeling like, right, maybe people recover from this, but I'm dealing with this, and that's why I can't. It kind of takes away the option of making these excuses, because you see everyone has their own individual, unique things that go on during recovery that make it really challenging. And I think if you normalize those things that feel really weird and feel like you're crazy and make you feel alone, if you normalize those things and you kind of make the point, like everyone's recovery process is going to be different, but there is nothing that you experience that, there's no like strange, unusual thing that you're going to experience that is going to prevent you from recovering, because at the end of the day, everyone has something that makes it really, really hard for them. There's so many different parts of the process that make it so hard. It is part of just working towards this other side of it that I could see in the videos of these people who have real lives and are interesting and have personalities and have things that they like to do. I think by also being someone who's far along enough in recovery that I do have these things that I love doing. I horseback ride, I have art, I read, I have amazing friends. And what I have now is something that it was so hard to see in the middle of recovering, or the beginning stages of it, but it does happen. Recovery Without Limits is just kind of the reference to the fact that I think no matter where you are in your life, no matter if other people think you look sick enough or whatever, everyone deserves the chance to live a life free of their absolutely paralyzing, all-consuming eating disorder thoughts, and just have complete freedom around food and eating and just living. So that's kind of a long backstory, and I feel like I'm talking in circles now. So yeah, but that's everything. All right, until next time. Bye.